Well, Harvey, thank you for coming in today, and tell us a little bit about, your role here in Nueces County, and then also what are you experienced here at the center, and your work here at the center potentially, with some specialists.
Okay. Well, Donnie, I've had a blessed career, and the majority of that career was here in the Coastal Bend area, although I did start in Hidalgo County and worked there for 3 years and had a 2-year stint out in Fort Stockton. But had the opportunity in 1976 to come to Clayburgh County and be a part of District 14. This was our headquarters. And then after about 7.5 years there, I had an opportunity to move to Nueces County and completed my career there, roughly 26 additional years with Agricultural Extension Service in the role of County Agricultural Agent. But the facilities here at the center and the proximity of the location of the district headquarters where our resource specialists were a tremendous asset to our county program, in my opinion. Actually, the auditorium, the foresight that the designers and builders and those individuals responsible for the construction of this A&M Center here that we're celebrating the 50th year is really great. Not only did it provide a research facility that had land to conduct research for the scientists, but it also provided housing for a good team of specialists that worked in the area. But I found it to be a great asset to have an auditorium here at the center to allow our producers to come in and come to meetings where they could get the latest information on production technologies. And we utilize this facility here at the center tremendously in our work as a county extension agent to gather producers at a site. And I think it helped us carry out that mission of the land grant university, bringing the university to the people was a tremendous asset in having these centers located in strategic production regions and to have an auditorium where we could bring those people in.
Well, Harvey, tell me a little bit also about maybe some interaction with the specialists here. Is there some special projects or something that you felt contributed to South Texas agriculture here?
Well, there were so many that it's hard to just single out a few, but yes, that relationship to producers that specialists had through the agent was really great, and working relationship over the years that we had with particularly entomologists, because bug problems are those that come around in cycles, and you have a different one quite often. And we did a lot of work with Dr. Roy Parker, with our economist, with our agronomist, and our weed scientist, with resistant weeds and techniques for controlling weeds with Dr. Bremer, and then the range and pasture and livestock with Dr. Hanselka and Dr. Pascal. Those were all tremendous benefits to have them close by. And when we had educational programs and updates on new technologies, the value of the result demonstration results here in the building, that was great to have those specialists come in, share some of their work. And in fact, the mini annex that became a part of the A&M Center provided our extension specialists with an opportunity to conduct field trials and then share those results immediately after they were available at the conclusion of the season, when they had a chance to process the data and immediately share those with the producers that were gathered at meetings here at the center.
Thank you. Harvey, tell tell me about a specific instance that of a project in the area that the center contributed to that you may be able to work with that provided a significant opportunity for South Texas agriculture to enhance its value around the area, or at least in the area of some sort.
Well, Donnie, this being a dryland production region, and drought-hardy crops are the only thing that really fits our area of the state because of the limited amount of water. We do not have irrigation capability. It became apparent to me back when I moved to the area and took over in Clayburgh County, working with the crops committees, that we had to have cotton as a cornerstone of our production regime in the area for producers. Grain sorghum was a good alternative. At that time, prices were quite low, and yields were, if you made 2,500, 3,000 pounds, you did a pretty good year. But when you figure that it was only worth $2.50 a hundredweight, or $3 in a good year, it didn't return a whole lot. So a lot of producers jokingly said grain sorghum is our cover crop in the rotation, for cotton being our cash crop. And with the boll weevil problems that we had at that time, we had to find early varieties for producers that would fruit on the 6th node and set fruit early and get ahead of the subsequent populations of the boll weevil. And so commercial companies at that time were not developing those varieties. They were coming out of university research, particularly the MAR program at College Station that Dr. Luther Bird had, and subsequently Dr. Camille L. Zeke, and then Cotton Improvement with Dr. Wayne Smith, giving leadership to those programs. What really struck me was in one of our early committee meetings down in Clayburgh County, where one of my farmers said, we need to erect a little monument south of Kingsville here to Dr. Luther Bird, because if it were not for his work with these early MAR cotton varieties, we would be out of the cotton business and we wouldn't have a cash crop, and therefore we'd be out of the farming business. So that's how strongly they felt the benefit from the research. And then as extension agents, we worked with those scientists to take those new varieties and their new improvements and plant those on the fields of local producers to demonstrate their value. And when commercial companies had lines that showed promise, we'd put them in, and the producers could compare with the things that they've traditionally grown, which was at that time SP37 and Cami and some of those varieties. And when I got to Nueces County, we continued that. And then in about the early 90s, our cotton was getting a bad rap about having lower quality. And the MAR cottons had production. They didn't have high fiber strength. The gram per tex were low in the 22, 23. The length was a little shorter than obviously the Acela types and premiums that were grown in California. And so we had an opportunity with an exchange group that had some folks from Australia that came along, and I hosted them for 2 days here in the county, and they saw a lot of similarities in our growing environment here compared to their growing environment. We were dry land. We had, generally some favorable moisture in the spring to get the crop up, but it was touch and go with rains, and so you needed drought hardiness and all. But their research had focused early on in trying to infuse fiber quality in their lines. But they told me that they had used Mar cotton varieties as a background for many of their varieties because they had fusarium wilt, bacterial blight, and Dr. Bird's Mar, multiple adverse resistant varieties, had the resistance built into those. So they used that in the foundation of the lines, and then brought in the Acala types and crosses to improve fiber quality.
So did they send you some seeds, some
Well,
varieties?
yes.
How did that variety test start?
We had talked about them, and I guess it was maybe divine guidance in some respects, but the gentleman that was an extension entomologist, they had a reduction in force. He went to work for the cottonseed distributors in Australia, and I met up with him at the Beltwide Cotton Conference and another colleague there, and we worked out an arrangement where they would ship me 5 or 6 lines that the cottonseed distributors that he was now employed with had, and we got those just in time for planting.
And some of that work was actually done here on the center, or
well, it was done the first year. It was done outside the center. Okay. I got the seed kind of late. They had all their plot plans developed, and so the first year we put them on 4 locations here in Nueces County, and it turned out to be a bit of a dry year. Started off nicely, everything emerged pretty well. Pretty typical, like we're seeing this year. You know, we had good moisture, and then you get into those hot, windy days, and then you miss out on a rain that you need in May and June and July to finish the crop. And so, you know, we had a bale to the acre kind of year. But the thing that really shined was the quality that those Australian varieties had compared to the Mar types and the Delta Fine 50s that we were planting at the time.
In most cases, was that a lot of the ochre leaf
varieties? Well, they had 2 ochre leaf varieties, and the reason the Australians liked the ochre leaf is because they had a tremendous problem, and this was before BT technology and genetic engineering, to try to control a species of bollworm that was the Armidra species that developed resistance to chlorinated hydrocarbons and the conventional pesticides very rapidly. So they had to get better penetration into the plant, and they found that the ochre leaf didn't intercept those, that it got it down to the bowls and growing points a lot better, and they got better control.
So how long did it take for that type of cotton,
right,
to come out and producers hopefully started using it? I thought it was pretty quick, wasn't it?
It was very quick, and it shows that when there's a need and producers can derive an economic benefit, that producers are willing to change their production practices rather quickly. If it results in more money to you, you're going to look at it and try to take it on. And so the first year there was a little skepticism because ochre leaf cottons had not been grown in this area, and you know, I had testimonials from producers that they were getting a lot more trips around their farmland from the local police enforcement, thinking that might be an illegal weed growing out in the field amongst cotton and some of those kinds of things. But the 832 from Australia proved to have excellent fiber quality. In fact, that year the mean of all the varieties we planted was just a fraction over an inch, based on the classing office, USDA classing office. The mean was 1.01. And here again, dry year, limited production on the end, and the ochre leaf had 1.05, but the gram per tex of strength was up to 30 point, a little over 30, whereas the mean that year was around 27.
So producers were obviously going to get paid a premium.
Right, because that improved the grade of their price, and that enhanced the loan level. If they wanted to resort to putting it into the loan, they had higher loan levels. So that was your safety net of support at that time. But it also, you put it out on the open market, mill buyers were looking for stronger and longer fiber.
So today, what is the average of a producer within the area using the same type of technology? I know a lot of things have changed over the years.
A lot of things have changed.
But a lot of different technology. But is there still some of that?
Well, it raised the bar. And even though it raised the bar on quality, and it made agricultural producers demand that the seed they're buying have the capability of producing higher strength and higher fiber length and optimum micronaires that would allow them to get maximum benefit in the market for growing quality.
Well, Harvey, tell us about what the economic benefit of this technology, of this new varieties that enhance the quality of the cotton. And then you also wanted to say, that this facility here, the center here, y'all may have conducted some educational seminars, experiences here that producers could come and actually learn about this.
Right. Well, let me address that first.
Okay.
Actually, the initial test work was done in 1997 with those lines, and that got a lot of people's attention, as we mentioned, because of the enhanced fiber production ability in a drouthy year. Okay. The next year we had a more favorable year, and it really did a lot to create additional attention. In fact, Mr. Tim Drew, I was able to get him to come from Australia. He was working with cottonseed distributors at the time and be a part of our county tour. We filled up 2 bus loads of producers to look at these plots. And Mr. Drew was the one that air freighted that seed to me initially from cotton.
And if I remember right, those producers came from around the region. They weren't necessarily just from Nueces County.
And that proved the need for South Texas to have higher quality cotton, and the fact that we were being discounted by buyers because, okay, it's stripper cotton, it's going to be trashier, it's going to have maybe a lower micronaire, and it's going to be a shorter staple cotton. So we actually filled up this auditorium, and it seats 300 some odd people. The third year, because we conducted an Coastal Bend Cotton Quality Conference, or I can't remember, it may have been called South Texas.
Is it the one that we had at the Holiday Inn?
No, we had one later at the Holiday Inn. I think that
South Texas
that next day, that evolved because, like I said, we didn't have room for it here. Mm-hmm. We went to the Holiday Inn, to the ballroom there. And the stir among the industry, it caused the commercial companies to have to raise the bar. And I had a gentleman who worked for one of the leading marketers of one of the most popular varieties at the time tell me that he went to their national sales meeting the second year after the cottons from Australia are brought in here, and he said, breeders, you're going to have to do something to improve fiber quality. And the next year he went and he said, y'all haven't done anything to improve fiber quality. Nobody's ordering my seed. I used to sell more of the Delta Pine 50 variety in South Texas than any other variety, and I can't sell it now because it doesn't have the kind of quality to compete with these new lines that are coming out of Australia.
Okay. So that contributed to the economic benefit of South Texas agriculture,
Right.
obviously.
And the other thing that it did is it could make 2-bale dryland cotton when you had moisture. And some of these others had a little difficulty getting over 1.5 bales, 1.75 bales. So not only did you have that type of boost in quality and a premium of 5 to 8, 9 cents per pound, but if you could raise 50 more pounds, you could really boost the benefit. And conservatively, $25 to $35 per bale on a producer for each bale of cotton. And I think that in 1999, there was only a limited amount of seed that they were able to get over here from Australia. And we had about 70% of the market share in our 125,000 acres of cotton that was produced here in Nueces County, and that occurred in 3 years. So it showed the need and the benefit that could be derived by improving quality. And since then, of course, everyone's jumped on board, and today you can't sell cotton with low micronair. Obviously has always been a problem, but low fiber strength and shorter staple.
Thank you. It's not necessarily the 50-year celebration of the facility, it's the 50-year celebration of the people that have worked at this facility.
I believe that the association with the professionals, the specialists here at the center, the research scientists here at the center, benefited me greatly from the standpoint of having access to information that my producers in the county needed. I was very blessed to be working in a county where producers were open to doing plot work, and specialists were dedicated and devoted to supporting agents in having successful plot work. And it led to a whole lot of achievement awards and things of that nature that benefited over the years. I was very, very humbled to be the first county agent in the state of Texas to be inducted into the National County Agents Hall of Fame. And
what about the relationships with some of the specialists here and researchers, obviously?
Right.
Because obviously you have to have the research component before you have the extension outreach component.
Right.
What about the relationships with people here that spent many years here working on agricultural production?
Well, it's always great when you have a team of people that are exceptionally dedicated. And of course, some of the most dedicated specialists I've ever known worked here at the center. I mentioned Dr. Roy Parker earlier. He was the go-to guy anytime there was an emerging insect problem. Dr. John Bremer, who recently passed away, was a go-to person on problems related to weed control, and he was a specialist not only in controlling and identifying weeds, but also application of herbicide technology and drift. And you know, agronomist over the years, even dating back to the first Dr. Lanny Ashlock, who went on to be head of the extension agronomy in Arkansas. Those people
And
were
in Harbor,
great.
we haven't even touched on the beef and forage side.
We haven't.
At all.
And
there's definitely tremendous amount of contributions coming out of this center as well towards that, with Dr. Wayne Hanselka, Dr. Joe Pascal,
right.
Many others as well too in the economy, and then maybe even on the wildlife side as well.
Absolutely. Dr. Hanselka and Dr. Pascal, we conducted annual beef cattle chart courses. We did some of these over at the Lonesome Dove Ranch with our counterparts in San Patricia County. And Dr. Hanselka was very instrumental in being a part of that, discussing control measures for our major brush species, Wasatch, mesquite. In fact, I had a picture at one time where with Dr. Hanselka and the cooperator out there, the berries had dug up a mesquite, and the length of the taproot was like 15, 17 feet long. Those kinds of things, demonstrating that you just can't shred it and get rid of it. It's going to come back. And of course, the beef cattle with Dr. Pascal, the technologies there related to just the basic management practices, the benefits of external parasite control, the benefits of crossbreeding, the understanding of EPDs, and the ranch to rail program. Here again, quality. Trying not to just run something through the stale barn, but want to produce something that the ultimate feeder and the people in the food chain, the consumer was desiring and wanting. Those programs were tremendous. We're not a huge production of beef cattle in Nueces County. We're largely farming, but in the western part it is. But South Texas as a whole, obviously, those specialties were needed throughout our region to work with producers on those types of problems.
Thank you.